Today I'm going to be talking about how Ramadan is a time of great mercy and forgiveness. So I cast my mind back to this time last year when my father said to me that in these days God's mercy and forgiveness is just like the pouring rain. So I started to think of a place where there's usually like a heavy drought, and I started to think, what do they do to conserve rainwater? Often they will run out with buckets and buckets in efforts to conserve as much rainwater as possible, to collect as much as they can so they can benefit from it as best as they can. These days are just like that. We're trying to conserve as much rainwater as possible and gain as much blessings from Allah and God as much as we can. Now, many of us, we may have suffered from many difficulties. We may have gone through things that have been really difficult in the year that's just passed us. And we may not realise that we've been suffering from a very heavy spiritual drought. Yet now is our chance where the rain is falling down on us and we're ready for us to be replenished and absolutely drenched in that mercy and that rainwater to help us to grow and to be better people. So often with this idea of rainwater, I often think of how we have an imagery of like a withering woodland and how the rainwater comes down to absolutely replenish that woodland, to make it majestically blossom and make it absolutely beautiful. So I often think of the saying which goes that you can, or the lessons that you can take from be like a tree. So the tree is nourished by the rain and its roots are firmly rooted, allowing it to tower high and offer protection, healing and its humbling beauty for everyone to admire. In the same way as God's mercy showers down on us in abundance, we ask His help to be more firmly rooted in our faith, with greater strength and ability to reach higher peaks, nourish ourselves, support and heal as we serve others around us. So as we know, this month is not just about abstaining from food and drink. It's a time where we really look inwards to understand how we relate to everything else outwards. So just like so many times in the year, we're always trying to let go of all the things that we do that we're not always very happy with. This is the time where we can carry on that journey, where we can carry on letting go of some of those things so that we can be better people. So for example, it might be things like backbiting. It might be things like not being able to be happy for people at their time of happiness. It might be the inability to appreciate what it is that we have, taking everything that we have for granted or the people around us for granted. And it may even be not looking after other people, our neighbours, or even this beautiful earth that we've been blessed with. It's really important for us to remember that if we let go of these things, then we allow more room for goodness to enter us. And what I think is really beautiful as well is that when we're on this journey to sincerely let go of some of these things to be better and draw closer to God, even when we do these things and we have shortcomings and we fall short, that God still accepts us, He still loves us, and He still realizes that these things might be difficult, but He still is there to listen. And you know, Ramadan is really slipping us by, and I think we're more than halfway through now. And I think, you know, for many of us, we might have started off with so much zeal, we might have put on so many goals and thought, at this time, on this day of the day of Ramadan, I'm going to be on this chapter of the Quran, I'm going to be learning these many prayers, I'm going to be standing at the Hajj every single night. And we may find that when it actually comes to it, we have so many responsibilities. Some of us may be young carers, some of us may have a responsibility to parents, some of us may have responsibility to children or a really, really demanding job. Whatever it is, we might feel as though Ramadan is gone and we've not really taken advantage of the days that have passed, but do not despair. I like to remember the quote from Sheikh Hamza Yusuf where he says, and it's actually full of a lot of hope, and I like to come back to it quite often, is that no matter how disorderly man becomes, God's order in His divine creation is there to constantly remind us, come back, 1,000 times, come back. So, as the rain is falling down in abundance, how many buckets have we filled, and how much have we drenched ourselves in God's infinite mercy and forgiveness? Knowing how generous God is in His infinite mercy and forgiveness, it's difficult for anyone to really walk out of this month of Ramadan having not been forgiven. So remember that God is as we think of Him. And if we are unsure if we've been forgiven, or we think that we've not been listened to, always remember that you are actually putting God's mercy and forgiveness a lot lower than it actually is. Always remember that God is most merciful, most forgiving, and the one that is always there to listen. So basically now, in these last few days that we have, and these remaining days of Ramadan that we have now, how many buckets have we filled? There is still time for us to fill up those buckets and turn back to God. So keep thinking good of God and having faith in His forgiveness. Don't give up, and God willing, may we all become stronger and closer to Him. Ameen.